All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Amtgard Leadership University. This is our third panel here at Feast of Fools 2016. We're going to be talking about park leadership. Middle management? I don't think so. These park leaders have experience on what it takes to lead from the front lines. Before we dive in, I'm going to start on my left with Vidrik. Could you give a quick 30 to 60 seconds introducing yourself, talk about who you are, where you're from, and let us know if there's any experience you're bringing to the table and you want to cover specifically one topic for this panel. So, Vidrik.
So, my name is Vidrik. A lot of people know me as Goose. I started Amtgard around a year and a half ago. 5 months in, became the champion of Rising Sun Station in Kingdom of Crystal Groves. And then sometime after that, I became the monarch. And what I really want to go over for this panel is just when you're ready for a position, then you're ready for it.
Dor.
I'm Dorlainedainwen in Kalame. I'm from RSS. I'm the current monarch of the Kingdom of Crystal Groves with the RSS Park. I have been a part of Amtgard for about 4 years now, and probably only about 8 of those months I have been out of office. Most of those have been monarch or regent. And in particular, I would like to speak about recruitment, communication, and conflict resolution.
I'm Sir Shiva, Knight of the Crown. I have been in the game since about 2003. For the better part of the last 6 years, I have been in office in some capacity, whether that be a local office at a duchy, grand duchy, or in kingdom office. Things that I like to focus on are bringing parks together, because at the end of the day, if you can't have your park working together, then people aren't going to want to come to your park, and that park's never going to grow. So that's something I like to focus on at park level.
My name is Bastion. I'm from the Barony of the Locks at Kingdom of Crystal Groves. I've been playing for about 2 years now. I've been the monarch over at the Locks for the past year. And now, before that, I started as the regent for 6 months. I think that I'd like to talk about retention, staying in office, leaving office, things about that nature, and then awards are probably a good topic to start on.
I can't wait to talk about that. Real quick, just a little housekeeping. I'd ask you again to please refrain from tapping on the table. Feel free, if you need to take notes, you have a pen there. You can write on the paper if you like. That microphone is pretty sensitive, though, so it's going to pick up any Morse code you're doing between yourselves. Also remember that you're not just talking to me or to the camera. You're also talking to all those people getting breakfast back there. So make sure that you speak loudly enough. I know, Dor, you're losing your voice. You'll try. Talk to the microphone then.
Shiva Jr.
And Shiva, I know you are going to lose your voice at some point. So talk like you're trying to talk to those people back there as best you can. And we're going to start off with our first question here. For park level, what does it mean to you to be a good park leader? Who wants to take that one? Graham.
I mean, one is fessing up to your mistakes. I know that for certain. Is that when you do when something is not done according to what is need to be done, fess up to it. Say, you know what? That was my bad. Instead of trying to hide behind or blaming someone else, fess up to it, and you'll gain the respect of others.
Okay.
I would say, I kind of want to figure out where I was going to go with that. Just knowing when to ask for help would be important, and especially if you're in a monarchy position, realizing that no matter what happens, it's pretty much your fault. It is, as a leader, you should take on any failure and use that to move on and be better and learn from that. It's going to happen. It's okay. You shouldn't try to prevent failure. You should just grow from it.
Okay.
What it means to me is when put in that position, I I'm responsible for that group of people. I take on the front face of that. So what happens to any one person, that's a domino effect. We are, when you look on as a monarch specifically, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So I try, as a monarch, I take a very protective stance over my park. So it's very much monarchy means to me basically my own. I mean, I take the position and I take the park as my own, and I very much try to protect my own and build my own. So that's kind of where what it means to me is, making sure that is safe. So.
Bastion?
I think
I don't know where I went with
like
it. I hate when I get this idea.
more, first and foremost, I mean, you gotta enjoy doing it. I think if you don't have fun, like you kind of want to help people. Like, so if you want to go out there and help people and you want to enjoy doing it, then I mean everything else is gonna kind of come easy to you. So that's kind of like the first and foremost things. If you're not gonna have fun doing it, then you probably shouldn't do it in the first place. So that's kind of my first thing. And then once you kind of want to help people, then everything else is going to fall into place. Then you know exactly, all right, I want to help these people, I want to help my park, I want to help the kingdom. And then from there, things should fall in and be easy for you at that point.
All right. So I know that I want to help now. And I know there are offices that need to be filled. How do I decide, I'm ready to be that officer? Should I make a plan for if I'm deciding to be a champion or a regent? Do I make a plan ahead of time, or do I?
I
Shiva?
feel like sometimes overthinking it can psych you out. I feel like too often people overthink it and psych themselves out. Yes, you should have a basic idea together, because sometimes you go in way underprepared and things just crumble in front of you. Some people do better that way, and I mean, that's great. That to each their own. Sometimes my best work is under pressure, but I don't want to say to overthink it either, because if you overthink that, then you're psyching yourself out and you're thinking of all the bad things and you're looking around and you're like, this person dealt with this and this person dealt with that. And you're like, I don't know if I can deal with that. And then you start thinking a worst case scenario. I think if you want to do it and you see the potential in yourself and you see something in a position that you feel you can bring to the table, go for it. And you see a need for that in your park. If it's an immediate need, go for it. If you see a potential for a need, then take some time, get the information that you need, and you have a little more time. But there are situations, especially in smaller parks, where that time isn't there. You don't have 6 months to gain, your resources and gain a plan for your reign. They need officers and they need them now. So get it and learn as you go and wing it. And the best thing you can do is reach out, and there are plenty of people around. And I feel like too often we try to prove that we can do it all on our own, and I'm guilty of it myself. There are always people out there. If you say, hey, I need help, too many times people are afraid to ask for help. And if you just say, hey, I have a problem, I took on too much, ask for help and people will help you. And that is the best way. Go in for it. Go in for the kill, do it, and just ask for help along the way. You're never going to know until you try.
Thank you, Graham.
Going to elaborate on that, and it's also about understanding your own strengths as an individual. If you don't feel like you're up to maybe, running a battle game, but you really like ANS, you really want to be, be a regent. Or focus on that regent position. If your park, has that position available and open. Like this.
Yeah, I mean, when all else too, I mean, if you think, hey, I kind of want to run games, I mean, ask somebody. I mean, talk to somebody in your current monarch. Just be like, hey, I'm thinking about wanting to be champion to run games. What should I do? What is the thing about? How do I get involved? And then they should be able to explain everything to you. I mean, the champion should. If you don't want to talk to them, talk to the monarch. I mean, the monarch, whoever the monarch is of your part, they should be able to tell you every position, everything that's, about it, and then ask them any little question you have. I mean, well, is it hard? Yeah, I mean, kinda, but I mean, that's the truth of the statement. I mean, hey, this is what you're gonna be doing. This is, what's expected. I mean, if you still want to go from there, then, I mean, ask more questions, or, I mean, go for it. I mean, at that point. But yeah, ask the people in charge. They can definitely guide you in the right direction if you're even thinking about, running for anything.
And I think with the positions I've learned, and it's come up a lot recently, finding out what works best for you, because different positions have, like PM, it is very much written out. The PM job is this is what you do. This needs to be done on this time. This needs to be done here. And the PM job is better for somebody who needs deadlines, needs something written out for them. Whereas the monarch situation is okay, this all needs to be done, but nobody's going to tell you when this needs to be done. So if you're more free form and you can follow a guideline, monarch might be better for you. So it's knowing your positions first while you're making that decision, and then adjusting to that. Champion, you are going to have to be reliable. You have to be there every weekend. You have to be ready to run games. And sometimes with a champion, you have to be ready to work with people, because if you're not going to be there, you need to be able to talk to other people and be ready for them to fill in when you're not going to be able to be there. PM's very, like I said, written out for you. Regent is, for the most part, very written out, except for the things that you want to do extra. So do you want your duties completely written out for you, or do you want to kind of make the best of the situation that's outlined, but kind of you do what you can with it? And that's another pick and choose your destiny and go from there. So.
I also think it's important. I had to step up. I was regent 2 months after I started playing. I don't suggest that. But knowing you're ready, I always suggest, it's not a hard line, but I like people to wait about a year, because I feel like that's kind of when they get into the game and get to really experience it. If you are like me and you step up too soon, it's hard to not get burnt out very quickly, because you lose that fun aspect of just being able to show up, play, have a good time, and then leave. But truthfully, there is no planning. With the other positions, it's a little easier, but especially as monarch, there is no plan. You can have an outline, and I'd like to take a business mindset of it, is have some goals that are little high, not too high, that you're probably not going to reach, just some high estimates. And you should reach those goals and just have a 2 or 3, not anything crazy. But if anything that can go wrong that you would never even in your mind think of, it's probably going to go wrong. We have crazy things pop up all the time, and it's more about flexibility and your grace and being able to handle these crazy things than about actually having a specific plan, because your plan is not going to be followed. It's just, you might as well throw that out the window. You just kind of need some guidelines of where you want to go. You're probably going to end up on a different path, though.
Be flexible.
Yes, flexibility is important.
So as park leaders and as people who have experience, what's your favorite positive part about being in a leadership position? What's your favorite thing to be able to do in any of the offices?
Who wants to go?
I really like the look on a new player's face when you first put that sword in their hand. That's my fuel, is new players. It's how I kind of stop from getting overwhelmed, is seeing these new people find that escapism that they didn't realize they had. People that have been picked on or they didn't have a belonging, and we give them a place to belong and to not be strange or weird. We accept you, come talk about Doctor Who, we love foam and Doctor Who and Star Wars and all these fun things. But it's the just making an impact on people. That's what's important to me. If I can make one person's life better, maybe they've had a hard life and they're at the end of their rope and they feel like they can't handle it anymore. If I can find that one player and help them and make their life better, then every stress I've ever had, every difficulty was worth it. That's why I do what I do. Definitely.
Yeah. I love battle games. I mean, like designing them, just having fun with them. I think of them as like my refueling station. Sure, I might not, get in some wax here and there, but like, just all about those class games. Love those class games, and if you can do a little bit more, like.
Can we get in something? We're going to be having a moment.
Graham obviously is very excited about class games.
Yes, class games, role play. Those are my refueling stations with the kind of the online role play tavern things. Yes.
For me, things like, I'm going to call people out. I know they hopefully will watch this. We had this last rain at Grand Duchy of Crystal Groves. I sat after field almost till dark when the park was supposed to be closing, talking to Lilith and Ichigo about A&S, and Crown Calls is always something about office that scares people, especially at my park because 9 entries just to qualify for office is a big deal. And talking to people, and that's my least favorite part about running for office, but talking to people about ways to adapt to that, and then not even knowing that when declarations came for our park, we sat and we talked about Crown Calls, we talked about things, and they were like, I don't know how you deal with what you deal with, and I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, it has its payoff. Declarations come around, and both of their names go in the hat for positions, and that to me means more than anything to know that conversation that we had they were like, I don't think I could ever do this, I couldn't, and then 3 months later their names are in the hat for something, and they both won their positions, they both are in their positions, they are both doing what they can for that position. To see that and to know that other people are doing it, and to see that talking to people is making a difference, and they're learning and they can now give that information on, that's what makes it for me, because that is evolution of the game, that is more people learning, that is okay, I really have made a difference, and what I'm doing isn't just affecting the here and now. This is long-term differences, and that does it for me more than anything. The long-term effects that I can make on people is what really drives me.
I am totally the complete opposite. I like the short term, man. I do. Well, okay, so I like, my whole thing, the thing I enjoy the most is, just going to park every week and then just making sure everybody has a good time. Just the one, if you have a Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, and you go out, that's the, one day that you can have fun, escape from whatever you're doing in real life. You just go out, 20, 30 people, maybe even more for, the bigger parks that are going out there, doing a thing that they all like to do and having a good time. And if you're making everything run correctly, then, everybody's going to have a good time. And that's, that's where I like, man.
I think that's the difference between the non-combatant and then the 3 combatants. I think I figured it out here.
Short versus long.
Yeah, you guys get the instant gratification on the field that I don't.
Yeah,
It's okay.
a lot of times I don't get to fight.
Yeah,
Monarch is all about recruitment.
So when
there's
you
that
do
one
get
person.
to, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's what it is.
So Vidrik, you touched on something about burnout, and I wanted to know if any of you have some tips real quick about avoiding burnout if you're kind of new into running for monarchy.
So as far as the burnout, just taking a second or like taking a day and just, I was like, okay, just gather your thoughts. But as far as the burnout, again, just for me personally, finding that one thing. At first, I thought it was, going in and seeing those new players and seeing the smiles on their face for the very first time that they try to play a healer, and it's terrible because they don't know the heal spell, but it's cute. It's long. But it's all about finding that one thing and then just having a little slice of that in your park day, and focusing on that, and then you can go back to whatever it is that you need to focus on, but just have that little slice.
Yeah, our park grew since I started playing for 4 years. It's grown from a shire to a duchy, so it's actually been pretty quick compared to a lot of parks that I've heard about. But we're very lucky. We're near the capital, so we just have a large amount of people that we can reach out to. So it does cause a lot of stress, and it's actually very wearing. So burnout happens a lot, but you really don't have time as a monarch to really burn out. Like I try to avoid it. Like the most important thing that I tell like my belts and everybody is you got to have your vet buddy, somebody that you trust more than anything, that you can just vent to, because we all say like terrible things when we're just done and frustrated and over everything that's happening. You have to be able to like reach out to that person and be like, say all these things that you normally probably wouldn't even say, just to get it out of your system and feel better about your life, and then you just can move on. But that like vent buddy is so important, because if you're at park and you're a monarch, like you have to have this like face of professionalism, of enjoying the game, of like a lot of good things, and it's really tiring to have to be positive and like happy and make that like good impression all the time, especially like recruitment. Like you have to be all like energetic and yeah, Amtgard, and like you might not be, you might be like, oh, Amtgard. And then the other thing is, I always tell people when they're getting there is to go talk again to new players. Like that is your fuel. Talk to new players and remember what it was when you were new, because they are so excited to just be there. Like they're just like, yeah, garb. Like they have like that starter garb that you had back in the day. Like I have this ratty tunic. Like the armpits are ripped out. Like I remember I showed up in that thing. I was like, yeah, I made something. But the new people will give you that positive fuel and remind you like that's why you're doing it, is so you can have more people like that just happy to be holding a stick in their hand or crafting or whatever.
Sometimes that's a downfall, because sometimes when everything's falling down around you, you're like, that could be another problem child in 5 months.
Yes. There's another question asked.
Yeah, big question mark above their head. I think the big thing is, as a monarchy member, no matter what position it is, it comes home with you. This is not just on Sunday. This is every day of the week. It is not a problem to turn your computer off, turn Facebook off for a day or two. If things are getting crazy and it's starting to affect you in life, and that's when burnout really happens, is when it is affecting your daily life. Take that away. Shut it down for a day or two and just walk away. Let people know, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I need a moment. Things are going on. I will be getting back to you, and take your time. Because if you're responding while you're stressed out and frustrated, things aren't going to come off the way you want them to. That's going to lead to that's going to make a bad situation worse. And you're just going to burn out that much worse, because everybody's tempers are bad. You want to avoid that. And then on the regular, even when things aren't bad, take a day or two during the week to just separate from it, to just have you time away from the game, because it will consume you. It will become your daily life while you're in an officer position. And that's what it does. And you can try to avoid it. It does not work. It becomes, especially when you have friends, especially when you're somebody who has friends inside the game, your daily friends are Amtgarders. It comes home and everywhere you look, there is Amtgard. And sometimes you just have to turn everything off and avoid it. It's okay to say, I'm going to take the weekend off of Amtgard. So many monarchs I hear are afraid to say, you're like, let's take the weekend off. My boyfriend and I are both in our office right now. We leave tomorrow. And I'm like, let's take the weekend off. Let's have, Saturday and Sunday, let's do something. We can't do that. We're going to meet. We need to keep our residency. It's not going to kill us to take the weekend off. We can take one weekend, and people need to remember that, because you cannot devote every waking hour to it. And if you do, it will burn you out.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said earlier you were talking about doing everything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like especially like it happened to me. Like as Monarch, I got elected. I was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do, and ran and just started doing everything, and it was awful. Like it got to the point where I'm trying to do way too much. So I actually got told, and it's one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten, as just any office is, hey, you need to step back, let your other officers, do stuff. You have to realize that's why there's, that's why you have a champion. That's why you have a regent. That's why you have a PM. Just take a step back and let them, do some things. Let them work on things. And that way you don't have to shoulder it all. It's not going to burn you out as much because you're not as working as hard. And you can step back and then have them, run with whatever they want to run with. And that lets you take the weekends off, okay, hey, this is what we want to do this week for part. I'm going to have a, weekend off. You guys have fun. Things work, and then you don't have to worry about it too much. And that helps tremendously with anything like that.
And we get caught up and we forget that, all of us do.
If you have what you think is an excellent idea that you want to see in this reign, it helps so much if you have other monarchy members who share that idea, and you can say, okay, here's what I'd like to see this weekend, and go ahead, have fun. And yes, it is important to remember that you are on a team of 5. So let's change topics a little bit here. I know, Bastion, you wanted to talk about awards. If you are working real hard in your reign and your monarchy members are doing a great job, and maybe you have some park members that have stepped up and are doing a great job volunteering, or they're making things, or they're running games, or whatever the case is, how do you like to award them? Do you like to make it very public? Do you like to give lots of awards? Do you think there's a limit of how many awards you should give? What are your thoughts? Bastion?
I was on the fence for a while, but now I'm kind of like, my whole thing is give. If you think it's worth it, give it. I mean, I don't know if it's the right statement, but it's probably not the right statement. But especially for like lower level parks, when you're 1, 2, 3 awards, stuff like that, it helps tremendously to push the newer players just to give them that spark to move forward. So, I mean, any little thing that you can give an award out for it, I mean, give it to them. I mean, if you think it's worth giving it, I mean, you should probably end up doing it. It's going to help the newer players along so much. I mean, if somebody shows up to the park and they have a new garb on, and you want to be like, oh yeah, that's great. Here's your first garber. That could spark so much more down the line that you don't even know. I mean, that one Garber award that you're kind of on the fence, well, maybe should I give it to them? If you just give it to them, then they get interested, they upgrade their garb, then they may like, sewing. So then they start making garb for everybody. And then down the line, you may have a new Dragon Knight coming into the kingdom. So, and just starting from that one award. So
use it as a motivator.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're just on the fence, like, hey, should I give it to him? Yeah, give it to him. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. I mean, if anything, it's just going to help out. So, yeah.
So use those 1, 2, 3 for motivators. I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he touches base with, as long as you're using common sense with your lower levels. The lower levels are where you have a lot more room to work with. Once you get in your higher levels, and the other thing is educating your populace. We have an entitlement problem. I'm going to call it how I see it. We have a very big, I do this, I get this. And just because what you see, I feel very strongly about this. Just because what you see is worthy, the bars are a certain level, especially when you get into your higher level awards. And we have several parks that are able to give up to 8ths. We have a park that's able to give up to a 9th, and then we have kingdom level. You have awards where that bar is set to a certain level for a reason. We have an ROP that explains, the award standardization explains what is to be expected, a guideline of what's expected. Follow that. Utilize the award standardization. Use that as your guide. stick with it. You know, you shouldn't be given 8th level roses for somebody who's barely at an event when they're autocrating. That should not be happening. If an autocrat's not there, if at one event you give somebody a rose, if you're at a duchy and you give somebody a rose for autocrating an event, and they are there nonstop working with their crats, getting everything done, and then next event somebody is autocrating, and they're not, you see them maybe, you know, half the event, if that. That's dropping the bar. We are needing to at least keep the bar here, not continually dropping it. We want to keep it or raise it. That should be our goal with awards. And I think that should be within all the parks. I mean, it's hard to compare bars from park to park because communication, especially with awards, I mean, every time we gave awards, we'd have to communicate with each other. But we have an idea of things, and within your park, you set that standard, you set that bar, and you stay with it. I mean, and when you come into office, you know what the last monarch set with the bar. If you feel it's lower, you can raise that bar. Do not be afraid to raise that bar if you feel like it was low. Especially as you get into 5th, 6th, 7th. I say once you get to the halfway point, that's when you need to start paying attention to what you're giving things for. That's when things start mattering. To start mattering where there needs to be some extra effort for things, more than just, okay, there was some work, you know, you really need to start paying attention to that award standardization at that point. And then as to frequency, I feel like at least 3 times a rain at minimum. I like the idea of once a month. That's been taken at some of the other parks, especially when you have bigger numbers. They're doing like once a month. Duchy and above, definitely once a month, because it's just less of a one-time thing, especially for your lower level awards. And then what was the other one?
Doing it more frequently might also help if you are one of those people who forgets that someone did something fantastic at the beginning of the rain.
I cannot count the times I pulled out blanks and had to write things down real quick because my mind is a scattered mess. So, yeah, definitely more than once a month, more than once every 3 months, especially at a park level. That's the difference between Kingdom and Park 2. Is you have the luxury of being able to do that once a month because your people are there every month and you can do that, and it's really nice, and it shows appreciation more often too,
and people love that.
Oh, yes.
And it's also key to remember that anyone can recommend an award.
Yeah.
Anyone can go to an officer and say, I saw somebody do something, because those officers don't always see it.
Yep.
And if the officers think, okay, yes, that's great recommendation, then they give it. But if they don't, you know, you can always recommend an award.
And it's education opportunities, plenty of education opportunities. If you're doing it more often, they're seeing it, that's giving them more opportunities to ask questions. I have people that don't know what that award's being used for. What is that, you know, recommend this? And I'm like, that's not what I'm going through the award recommendations, and I'm like, they're being recommended for this. That's not what that award's for. So that's definitely something that's lacking all over is education on awards.
Yeah, kind of elaborating on like Kingdom versus Park. On the park level, what helps the most is being there and seeing something. I had a player come up to me, very new player. I think he had under 10 credits. And he came up and he made some cloth bracers. Didn't put it into an ANS, didn't do anything. He just said, hey, I made these. And he only showed me at the time. I gave him his first Garber for that. Actually, sorry, Owl, because they were armor. So it's just those small little things that, you know, accumulate over time. And I've also noticed that for the lower levels, they don't recommend.
No.
A lot of people, they don't recommend those.
They forget.
They want awards, but they don't recommend them.
Yeah. At the higher, you know, usually everyone knows as soon as like the 5th, 6th, anything around there, people know that, okay, she's probably going to get this, or they're probably going to, yes. But for those lower levels, it's kind of up to the you know, yes, you can say, hey, you know, give me those recommendations, but if you're not there, most of the time it's not going to be seen.
And recommendations are not, in 6 months, you get like 20 of them.
It's terrible.
If that.
Recommend them as soon as you see them, right? Not keep a tally.
Yeah.
You
Keep
need
a
a
list.
spreadsheet. You really do, because you're not going to remember. Like, I have a spreadsheet specifically for awards, and I write them down as I go or get recommended. I like awards, but I think people get really hung up on them, and I'm not really that hung up on them. My first through like third level awards kind of got lost, and I had to re-earn them. And that's fine. I don't make a big thing of it because it's just paper. But I like to, after every park day, I put a post on our park page thanking people.
That's a big thing.
And that actually I can do the little search bar, and if I look up thank you, then I can actually pull that post up later for future reference. But
That's such an excellent idea.
That is a good idea.
if somebody helped me set up or somebody stayed after and picked up trash, like I put it there so that other people can see on this public page that this person did this work, and I appreciate that. And really, most people are not about the awards. They don't even maybe necessarily think of recognition, but they do feel more appreciated when you do bring that to light, that I saw what you did and it was awesome and it helped contribute to what we were doing, and it thank you for your help. Like, that's most times that will make people happy enough, and then I throw in the awards later because you don't get a choice. I'm going to give you an award for it. But I think that's also important, is to show people that there's more than awards, that you also want to work for the park to be a better place. Like, that should be your end goal, not, I want to make knighthood in this amount of years, and that's why I'm playing this game, because I'm going to be a knight. Like, it's not a bad thing, but I think you get lost in it if that's what you just solely focus on.
Okay, so changing gears real quick to the opposite of that sort of is, if you have somebody who's causing problems at your park, whatever the problem may be, if you have someone who's not fighting per the rules, or if they're causing issues, how do you handle communicating to that player or kind of keeping it at bay?
Well, actually, you said it right there, is communicate. Communicate to that person. I would always recommend having another officer with you and just go up to that person and say, hey, such and such, this has kind of been going on. What's up? What's happening? How can we? It's all about making the situation better, and it won't get better by brushing it under the table. You have to address it.
So address it and ask them why.
Yes, or just address it and say, like, hey, we've been let's say a sluffer. Just go up to the sluffer. It might not require another person from the monarchy, but just going up to that person saying, hey, notice this, make sure that you don't have as thick a skin.
It's because maybe it's not about sloughing. Maybe it's they just didn't recognize it.
Exactly, and so
Especially
many
for
people-
smaller issues.
Yeah, those are small.
And more often than not, at a park level, that's what you deal with, are smaller things, miscommunications.
Yeah.
We have a lot of strange nerds. We all have, my theory obviously is, everyone searches escapism for a reason. So you probably have something going on with you or your life. We all come from different places. So it's going to happen. You should expect it. Like, it's never going to be happy-go-lucky. It really is a family. You're going to have your little family tiffs. We love each other at the end of the day, but you're going to have your family tiffs. But something that I like to encourage is making sure that you directly do talk to the person. Because a lot of times they don't realize it. And most people will make a good effort. They don't mean to. They don't want people to go, oh, you're a jerk. Like, they don't want that reputation. That's probably not what they're going for. So just being very direct and like Vidrik said, like, having another person there, because hearsay is a very rampant problem. So, and that also, like, helps me. I try not to handle a situation if I'm emotional about it. I walk away, take a breath. If I'm still kind of emotionally involved in it, I'll send somebody else, because I know mentally that I should not be handling it. But just going to that person and listen to their side. There's too often, like, a lot of people just go up and go, you're sloughing, don't do it, I'll hit you harder, or something along that line. just go, hey, we noticed, you're not taking your shots. Or, hey, you're saying these things and people are uncomfortable. Why are you doing that? Or whatever the problem may be. But just listen to their side of things, and you might get a new perspective. Like, you have to listen more than you talk and tell people what to do. That's what's very important. And if you give people the time of day and listen to them, that's going to help. If you don't, people are just going to get very salty and very upset with you because they're going to feel like you're discounting and marginalizing them in what they could view as a very valid thing to them, whether you think it's dumb or not, or important. Listen to them. And if you can't, find another officer, pull them over, say, can you please listen to this person for me real quick? Like, I have to go do this. And just do that. Give them the time of day. Respect them. If it continues to be a problem, then you can continue to escalate. And sometimes some people you can't help. And you have to be able to admit that and tell them and say, look, I can't do this anymore. Like, you're making everyone uncomfortable. You're affecting our game. And generally, if you have a good, positive atmosphere and you encourage good things at your park, though, the problems tend to resolve themselves because negative players and negative people can't thrive in a very positive, supportive atmosphere. Like, they're just not going to feel like they mesh with that. So it generally resolves itself at that moment.
And then if you can't resolve the issue, there's always the rules of play and the code of conduct. So we have that to back us up. I have one more question real quick for you, and then we're going to wrap up. If you have a player at your park that just doesn't seem to want to do anything different than their niche, and they seem to need some more motivation to contribute to playing the games or to planning things, or you just need them to contribute more, and they're not doing much. How do you motivate them? Real quick tips.
I think finding somebody that works well with them, somebody maybe within their brainwaves, you find people that mesh well with each other, and find somebody that's on their path and send them to work with them, find somebody that can work. We tend to have people that are just good with people in general. That like shift tends to be great with people, no matter who it is. Shift can get through with anybody. So shift tends to be a good person. And I think every park has that person, and you send them. And if they can't get through, well then, I don't know. But that tends to work. Sometimes it's just trying somebody else, because a different approach, a different outlook to pushing somebody can tend to help.
Bastion,
and you
do you have any?
Actually respect with that question. Like, you have to respect that there are different levels of Amtgard. Not everybody is going to show up and be a Shiva or a Gore or a Tato or whatever. Like, some people want to show up, sling some foam, or just talk and hang out and leave, and that's okay. So just find those people that really want to do something. But if you try to motivate them and they don't want to, don't force them. It's okay. Everybody has a place in Amtgard, whether they want to sit on the sidelines or fight, or be casual, or step up to leadership. But if they don't, it's okay. That's fine.
Okay, so just wrapping. Yes, did you have something?
Yeah, worst comes to worst, just ask them. Go up to them and be like, hey, what's up? And see what's going on. Ask them what they want to do. You may not realize it, but if you sit down, we did, battle games for the past 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. They may not enjoy that, and then, okay, well, we want to do role playing more. Okay, we'll throw that into the mix a little bit, and then they may come out of their shell and start participating more, and then you don't have to worry about it.
So change it up.
And then learn to pick up context clues too. That helps too. If people are shy, I know we're all nerds, so there may be a new player that comes out and they're real shy and they don't really want to talk about it. If you hear in passing, well, yeah, this it's not really like D&D. Oh, okay. Well, they played D&D, so they're gonna like the role playing aspect more. Maybe we should gear a week towards that. Then they'll start coming out of their shell, and you don't have to really worry about it too much from there. So, asking people, just trying to get what they want to do, and they'll help out a little bit.
All right.
I'm glad you brought battle games too, because something crazy we do at our park, when we have brand new players, I actually encourage them to get with the champion and create a game. And at the end of the game, we do a pros and cons. We start with cons because you should generally end with positives. And we tell people, obviously, be understanding. But giving them that chance to see what it's like can also help, giving them opportunities. So if it's a new player, like, and I believe Ferris has had to do, a lot of my new players have. I believe I even made Goose do it, and he ended up stepping up as champion after that. But like it's a fun concept to do at your park, or if you're doing ANS, ask him to judge or whatever, but just ask him to do it. The battle game thing is fun, though, to do at your park if you want to give those new people an idea of what it takes to run a park every day.
It's all about understanding, again, people's strengths and weaknesses. If you're trying to have them go and step up in a position that they're maybe weak in, or maybe they're not ready for, then don't have them do that task.
Or send them in with help.
Yes.
Yes.
Support is
definitely.
important.
Absolutely. Because then you're going to be left with a position that needs filled again. It's just going to be the cup that you have to keep filling and monitoring and being, is that good? Do I have to maintain it? Okay, I got to do it again. So.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to wrap up, and I'm going to start here on my right with Bastion. Just give the last point that you want to make to our audience. What do you want to talk about? Drive home with local park leadership.
The thing, man, if you're interested in running for any position, and I think Graham talked about earlier, if you want to run battle games, talk to your champion. If you are really artsy and you want to do all the ANS stuff, talk to your regent. Figure out something that you want to do, and then talk to your local monarch. They're going to help you out. They're going to be able to point you in the right direction. So that way you don't have to go into this blind. You know exactly what's going on, and then that way it's not going to be a total blindside. You're not going to get burnt out as fast. You'll have the support that you need from local parks. If you want to talk to somebody higher up, talk to Kingdom. That's why the Kingdom monarchy is there, to help out the smaller parks. So just talk to people, ask them what you should be doing to get into the positions that you want to go for, and then once you get all the information you can, go for it. I mean, enjoy yourself, have fun, and jump right into it.
All right.
Just communication. Communicate with your park. Communicate with the higher ups, because to keep everything flowing, you have to keep the communication going. Communicate with your players, communicate with your other monarchy team. You got to get things flowing, information flowing, and that'll make your job easier no matter what position you're in. And that's really the big thing. Communication, no matter what aspect. If you're, when in doubt, communicate, and that's typically going to give you your answer.
All right.
Communication and delegation are very critical.
You said delegation, Doy?
Yeah, delegation. I'm sorry. Most importantly, though, if your reign is easy or things are going easy, that's not really what defines you as a monarch or a leader in general. It's going to be those hard moments when you've locked yourself in a room and you're bawling your eyes out, or like you just can't handle it anymore, but then you find that inner strength and you do it anyways. When there's an empty position and the park's falling apart around you, and everybody's just frustrated and fighting, and you can step up and pull that together and rally your troops. That's what's going to define you. It's those hard moments, and at the time you don't value them, but they're very important. They define you. They give you your moment. And that's what people remember. They don't remember that your game was kind of fun. They don't remember that your role play was pretty cool. They're going to remember, holy wow, there was this huge issue and this person stepped up and handled it with grace and confidence. And wow, that's what I want to be when I can step up into leadership.
Cool. Thanks. Vidrik?
And you're not going to find that route through excuses. Okay? Don't lead through excuses. Fess up. Even if something was completely out of your hands, be like, you know what? This happened, but we're going to make it better as a team, as a monarch.
All right. Thank you all very much. This has been our Park Leader panel at Feast of Fools 2016. Thank you all for taking time out of your day. Go grab some breakfast.
Bacon.
Thank you.